Well, as usual, little buddy's here waiting on me. Let me go get his food. Get this tripod set up. Oh, goodness. I don't know what you can see. And he just went in the house. Let me go get his food so I can get him back out. He's also needs fresh water. Now, where do you think you're going, huh? There goes you some fresh water. Let me go get your food. There you go. Had to get his food this morning. He was probably wondering where I was because I was late getting up. I didn't fall asleep for a while last night, so I slept about 10 o'clock before I woke up. I didn't realize it was that late. I figured it was around 7 or 8. I rolled over and picked my phone up and checked the time, and it was 10:35. I said, oh my goodness, I need to get up. Oh, but my back is still hurting this morning, so I decided I wanted to try to do an update on the garden. I'll just have to take it slow and easy and maybe even sit down a minute in between my tour here, my update. Oh, I'll do the best I can, won't we, little buddy? Oh, goodness. Oh. Little buddy, it's the pits that have back problems. Because this is an injury that I've had. Well, the original injury was back in 1983. And a year later, I had surgeries on my neck and my lower back for ruptured disc and crushed vertebra. And I've had problems with it ever since. And then after re-injuring myself at Lakestone Terrace, it's just a never-ending story. Looks like little buddy's just going to chow down over there. He don't care about no garden tour or nothing else right this minute. He says, I don't really care about anything but my food right now. He's definitely a sweet cat. And you can see my insulin plant right behind little buddy. It's starting to look really good. It's got 3 shoots that have come out so far from the roots. And it'll reoccur every year. I mean, it's a perennial. It dies back in the cold weather. But then the following spring, if you keep it watered, the shoots will come back out from the roots. And I'm not a diabetic. I don't need an insulin plant, but I thought it was pretty. It was unusual. Makes a nice little plant. Well, I don't want to just stand here the whole time and watch little buddy, because then I won't get my garden tour done and my back will start hurting and I won't get anything done. So, look at the squash plant that I planted right there at the base of my mandevilla plant. Mandevilla is still going up the stalk. It grows kind of slow, but it's pretty. But look, I got little yellow squash started down in there. And my squash plant over here, it's got flowers. So I'm hoping it's going to have some fruit. And I got my cucumber vine going up my stake here. It's starting to climb on its own. I plant stuff in unusual places. And my peppermint, of course. But, you know, no one said you can't plant squash or cucumbers around your yard. I mean, to me, they're just as pretty as a flower, because they do have pretty flowers on them. And then there is the pot full of flower seed that we planted. It's getting up there pretty good. The zinnias, I'm not sure how much taller they're going to get. But the marigolds and the zinnias are growing like crazy. And look at this. Look at that. You know what that is, don't you? That is a tomato plant. I have a volunteer tomato plant coming up from my flower seeds. So that tells me that there was a tomato, or somehow the tomato seeds got in the compost and the dirt. I'm going to leave it there. I mean, if it gets too tall, I may have to bend it over and put a lead line over to the arbor and let it go on up the arbor. I don't know. But I'm going to leave it. It seems happy there, so I'm not going to move it. And I got a little, I think that's the squash plant growing there. And I think that is a cucumber there. So, you know, I'm going to let it grow right on with the flowers. It can go on up around the arbor. Don't matter to me, and I'll pick cucumbers off the arbor. Oh man, I'm already hurting, and I just started this tour. But there's this pot of wildflowers and peppermint. And I got something else growing in there. And I got a tomato plant. Look at there. In fact, I got 3 little tomato plants come up in there. And I'm going to leave them. Needs to be watered. Ain't that right, little buddy? Now he's around here following me. He's going to tour with me. Oh. And this out here, all of my, that low-lying plant, that's the Mexican plant that comes up every year that I planted, and I can't for the life of me remember the name. And then the daylilies. And I got the daylilies up here, and look at that. They're getting ready to bloom. They got buds on them up there, so that's going to be pretty when they bloom. Daylilies here with my rose bushes. They're putting out more growth. Look at that. So they're still growing slowly, but they're growing. The rose bushes. That's the white one. And then I got the Mexican plant, my mom's. And that's one of the flower bulbs right there that's come up in the center. For the life of me, I don't remember the name of it, but that's what that is come up. And of course, my other rose bush. Oh, man. And there's my marigolds. And look at there, I got a zinnia in there. And my coleus that we broke off the couple of pieces and stuck it down in there and rooted. So that's going to be pretty. It's already getting to look pretty. And then, of course, I've got, oh, man. I've got my purple, he's bumping my tripod, so I'm going to have to shorten the legs on it. I left it long, so if I needed something to lean on, I could at least lean on the tripod, but he's bumping it, so I got to lower it. But my purple mums, they're all blooming. Got some purple ones over there opening. Got some way out there that are opening. Along with the daylilies, more mums. The daylilies here getting ready to open. See there? They've all got buds, and I got some open right there already. I've got different colors. I've got yellow. I've got that burgundy color. And a couple more, I think, but I don't remember. See, all of these they have buds. They're getting ready to open. Got a couple of marigolds that survived that I planted. So it's going to look good. I didn't plant anything in my little pig this year. I stuck a artificial flower in the top because I never got around to planting anything in it. Little buddy's out in the street. There he goes. He said, I've had breakfast. Oh, man. And look at all the wildflowers up here beside the carport. I mowed them down the first time, but this last time I said I'm going to leave them. I'm going to let them bloom. I'm going to let them drop seed, and then I'll mow. And look at the crepe myrtle. That's the one that I thought was dead. So I started putting compost tea to it, and look at that. It's not dead. And there goes the little rose bush we planted there. It's got new growth on it. Rose bush there. It's putting out more buds, so it'll be covered with roses again before long. Oh, man. My daylilies here are getting ready to open. They've all got buds. I planted those years and years and years ago. And of course, there's my other crepe myrtle. It's the darker one. I thought it was neat. Some of them have a green leaf, some of them have a burgundy leaf. Some of them have both, and that's the burgundy one. My other rose bush there. My peppermint. And my rose bush there. Look at that. That sunflower has gone all the way to the top of the carport. Oh, not carport, but the porch top. Isn't that pretty? I think it's beautiful. And it's fixing to put 2 or 3 more flowers that's going to open right behind it up there. And look at there, those wildflowers I left that came up in the cracks. They're blooming. Can you believe that? Flowers growing on my patio through the cracks. And of course the celery that we blanched the other day. And I've got baking soda around it to kind of deter any more worms or anything that wants to come to it. I've got a Swiss chard there and a broccoli. They need some water. And see, I went ahead and cut that peppermint back because it was too long and lanky. So it'll come out thicker than it was before. And there's that tomato plant growing and growing and growing. And it has the kind of rusty looking mums that are you know, some of them are already open. And of course my other sunflowers right here under the hummingbird feeders. The hummingbirds like to have the flowers growing there. And look at this. Here's the those are the coleus that we broke off, 4 of them. They're starting to grow because they've perked back up. So we're going to have a pretty pot of flowers there in a week or so. My neighbors are laying some kind of concrete foundation over there. They're doing it by hand, so I know that's a lot of work. Oh, man. But there's my sunflowers here at the wishing well. The biggest one died, but the rest of them are opening. And look at this. My squash plants have blooms. And it's got a little yellow squash back there. Can you believe it? And I don't know, this is either a melon or a cucumber. And I got a shark fin squash come up right there, so it's going to have a vine that's going to go crazy. And there's one of my moonflowers fixing to open, this thing right here. That's a moonflower bud. So that's going to be a beautiful, about a 6-inch diameter white flower when it opens. I got mushrooms. I don't eat mushrooms. I mean, I do, but not many, because I am somewhat allergic to them. There's my rose bush here putting out more leaves, and it'll be putting out more buds shortly. And my crepe myrtle. I was wondering if it was going to survive, but it is. And I see an anthill beside it. I'll have to get some granules and put out, or either some baking soda and sugar to get rid of them. And there's my bluebonnets that went to seed. I'm just waiting for those seed pods to open and drop seeds, so I'll have more of them come up next year. There's the rose bush on the property line. It's growing quite a bit. It's put out, I don't know, maybe 6 inches of growth. And there's one of the wildflower seed that I had thrown out last year. It looks like kind of like a wild zinnia. I think that's what they call them. There's my rose bush there. They are all putting on new growth. And there goes my moonflowers around there. We get more rain this week than we're supposed to. Those moonflowers are going to just spurt right on up. I've still got some that are just now coming up. Like right there. Just coming up out of the ground. And I got mums there in that pot with some flower bulbs that I had put in there. And look at there, I got one little rose on that one. But look how much it's grown. It's put on about 6 inches of growth with that rose. So I think that's just totally beautiful. And there goes this rose bush. All that dark, the dark leaves, that's all new growth coming up on it. So since I've been trying to water each time with compost tea, it's really starting to grow. And this one, I don't know, it needs something. I'm not sure if that's a white rose or if it's still the yellow, the pink one. But I need to get some more compost tea put to that one. And this one. I mean, it's growing quite a bit. And that. I think if they got more sun, they would grow a lot faster. But look at this. Isn't that beautiful? All of those wildflowers back there. And there's no way I'm mowing those down. No way. They'll drop 1,000,001 seed and just spread throughout the yard, so I'm not mowing them. See, they're already spread over here around the fire pit. So if I don't mow them down, they'll drop seeds and they'll keep spreading all over the yard. So next summer, I'll have a whole yard full of these wildflowers of several different kinds. And I need to build me a fire in my fire pit. I've got, look at this. I got wildflowers growing in my fire pit because it's been so long since I've had a fire out here. And I got grass growing, so I've got to start building a fire out here and get rid of this grass. I mean, I don't want to get rid of the wildflowers, but hey, they're in the fire pit. They don't need to be there. And I got corn coming up underneath my bird feeder. That's where the bird seed drops to the ground, and the squirrels or the other birds don't get it, so it takes root and starts growing corn. Look at that. All those wildflowers. You see why I don't want to mow. I got more wildflowers out there than I got flowers that I planted in the pots. They need to be watered again, but I just haven't been able to get out here to do it. And there's my other crepe myrtle. I trimmed it back quite a bit. All the wildflowers coming up outside of the little rock garden. Yeah, I need to get some more compost tea out here to these little pots. I need to get it finished so where I can put bigger pots there is what I need. But isn't that white flower pretty? It's like grows like a carpet. I think it's pretty. And look at this. My cabbage is trying to come back. I cut all the leaves and stuff off of it because it was so covered in worms. And I sprayed it. And I need to put a net back over it if I leave it and let it keep growing, so be able to harvest some leaves off of it. But I'm walking through wildflowers. Look at this. Wildflowers are bigger than my rose bush. They're all outside of the rock garden, though. Why can't they grow in the rock garden? See there? Some of them are inside, some of them are out. But isn't that pretty? And I got my boots on. Because I didn't want to have ant bites. But there's my okra and my marigolds. Okra's growing good. And there's that little rose bush down in there. It's growing, it's putting out leaves. It'll take it a while to get some size on it, but it's growing. That's all we can ask for. It'll grow at its own pace. There's more wildflowers here. And I don't remember what that purple one is, but that is some of the seed that I've dropped because it came up all throughout the easement back there behind the property, as well as in the yard. And there's my okra there with my marigolds. And you can see I put a tablespoon of Epsom salts down in there. I'm just waiting for it to rain because with my back right now, I can't carry the buckets too much. And look at those rose bushes. They love this spot. Look how much they have grown. Remember, those are the ones we rooted. They were little sticks when we put them in the ground. And then I've got my marigold and my clematis. But look at this. It's growing the wrong way. It don't need to grow that way. Here, let me put this tripod down. It's growing around the plastic I put up. And it needs to go this way. It needs to go around this and up the... Go up that way. But you have to stay on top of stuff like that. Sometimes they will stray and kind of grow the way they want to. If there's anything next to them that they can climb on, they'll go to that just as like they will the arbor, so you have to watch it. And see, there is my little rose bushes over here, and they're starting to grow pretty good. Look at the white one, or the yellow. I mean, it likes that spot, and it's starting to grow. It's got another bud at the top. There's the pink ones. And look at this. I've got a clematis vine growing from the ground. That was from seed that dropped last year. I've got several of them coming out of the ground that are going to go up. I'm going to leave them there. But that's one right there. I got more coming up on the ground than I have in the pot. Look at there. That purple. Isn't that pretty? Purple one's up there. Oh man. And see, there's where I harvested the Swiss chard. I mean, it's still got leaves on it, but I cut all of that I cooked off of that one plant right there. I got peppers growing down in there. And look at my zucchini. I got 2 pretty good sized zucchinis on here already. And I got more blooms. Got one bloom that fell off. Oh man. And my leeks. My other squash plant down here. It's got a yellow squash on it. And I got melons down here growing in my Swiss chard. So I don't know where they're going to end up. My watermelon. And see, I harvested that cabbage and it'll grow back out. Cantaloupe down there growing out of that middle bucket. My greens. More kale, more greens. Watermelon vine. And I did manage to put up this trellis, A-frame one, for my cucumbers to go up on. And look at that, all those wildflowers, and I'm leaving them. The sunflower. And I put that trellis up so those melon and squash vines can grow up on it, like this one here is doing. You just have to check them once in a while, make sure they're still going up the vine, up the string, instead of veered off somewhere else, like this one. Oh man. But they've done some growing, haven't they? And see, I got this one growing up here. And this one back here that's growing over this way. I'm going to have to put it up on the trellis too before much longer. And that poor tomato plant trying to grow up between them. And my romaine lettuce. That's a dark lettuce. I didn't realize it was going to be that dark. Maybe the sun does that. I don't know. But then my melon vine here growing up, because I want to keep it off the ground. And I managed to get this one. I almost overdid it yesterday. That's why I'm not able to do too much today, because I'm in pain. But this was the one that was growing so on the ground. And it started getting bugs on it because the rain splattered all the dirt. So I sprayed this one good. Yesterday. But I got a melon, a shark fin squash, and I think a cantaloupe vine growing there. Growing up the trellis. I'll think of something when it gets to the top. I don't know what, because that one's already at the top of it. And then I got watermelon here. I don't know what I'm going to do with this, because there's no... and my squash. I need to harvest that squash. And I didn't bring anything out here to cut it with, so I'm just going to twist it. And this one, you can twist it, and finally it'll just come loose without damaging the plant. Lay them right there for right now. But that'll give the rest of them a chance to grow now. And see, I got a shark fin here. I need to pull up my potatoes, I guess. I'll have to do that within a few days before that shark fin squash and that other one gets too big. And then I got this one that's growing up. Growing on up that way. And this one. And then look there. I got peppers in there. I didn't plan on having these squash or cucumbers in here, but they come up on their own. And I've got all these pepper plants growing in here. So I don't know what's going to do anything and what won't now. And look, I've got a tomato plant there. So, we'll see. Give that just a little bit of help. And there I got my peppers. And some more squash. I think that's yellow squash. And my cucumbers. It's about a little over halfway up. There's that one. And that's a melon and a okra plant there. And there's my shark fin squash plant. Look at the vine on it. I'm going to leave that one on the ground since it's on the wood chips. And I moved the pot from over at the buckets yesterday because it was just too crowded up, and I moved it out here. It's either a cucumber or a melon. I'm not sure which. But the okra, more squash. Look at there. I got little squashes coming on there. Let me go over here and get my squash. I got 3 of them. And I think some of my other plants have got some on them. I got 3 of them so far. And look at the shark fin squash there. That vine's growing all the way. It's trying to go to the buckets. I'm going to have to keep it turned, I guess. And there's my cabbages that I harvest leaves off of. And see, they're growing back. That one. And there's melon plants in here with the pepper and with my leeks. There's one over there. I'm not sure where it's going to go. Tomato, pepper plants. Pepper and tomato. Pepper and tomato. The biggest one's the tomato plant. And there's just pepper plants. My rose bushes. More roses. Peppermint. Tomato. It's small, but it's growing on up. And that pepper plant right there. Ooh, y'all, I'm sweating. And that big rose bush. And those tomato plants are growing right on up the string. Pepper plant in the little pot. And there's that pepper plant, the tomato plant growing up the cage. cilantro gone to seed. And look at there, my little dwarf tomatoes, my Tiny Tims. I'm not sure what that one is. That's not a Tiny Tim. I think that's one like came up in there last year. But I still got Tiny Tims. They've not come out of the holes yet, like that one did, and like this one. But they're growing. There's one there. Right down there. My leeks. And look at there. I planted leeks in there and I got peppers coming up in the middle of it. Go figure. And all this stuff is still growing. Look at my tomatillo. Tomatoes, I'm going to let them grow right on up the trellis with my peas. Those are, I think, foot-long peas there. And my tomato growing on up the stick. Put these squash down on my bucket. And there's a tomato. And see, I purposely left it here close to this trellis so it can grow up the trellis. I don't know if you can see that. But those sweet peas, they just don't like the heat. These other ones are growing, and I haven't been out here to harvest them. Look at there, and they're turning yellow. I guess they'll just go to seed, and I'll replant them. Got my little squash plant here, and look at there. There's one that didn't get pollinated good. Just pull that off. Crepe myrtle. Look at here. I got another squash that needs picking. Again, like I just twist it. That'll do the least amount of damage to the stem or to the plant to get it off. And I got one on this one. So I got enough squash, my first harvest, to cook a small pan of squash. But I got, I think it's kohlrabi and Swiss chard. My tomato plant's finally starting to grow a little bit, and it'll get another growth spurt as soon as it rains and that Epsom salts gets washed down in there. My pepper plants here that we planted. They're little, but they're growing right along with the grass. And that's another pepper plant coming up from seed. And look at this. Since I pulled that marigold out of there, that tomato plant, eggplant, pepper plants, and tomato plant back there are starting to grow. And look at my little watermelon. Look how much it's grown since I took the marigold out. Because the sun is getting to it now. And it needs the sun to grow. And look at all the seeds that's come up in there. I gave that pepper seed up. I didn't think that bell pepper seed was coming up, but look at it now. And just wait till the next time it rains and all that Epsom salts gets washed in there. Oh my God, they'll have another growth spurt. And there are those tomatoes. And remember, these all came up from seed. Pepper plants down in there. My walking onions. Look at all the little onions at the top that's going to dry out and make more plants if I want to plant them. Oh. And look at my eggplant and my okra plant. I was wondering about my eggplant. It just didn't seem like it was going to grow. But I got 2 there, 2 plants there, 1 here, and then I got an okra plant. So, and then these tomato plants, look how tall they've gotten. Marigold plants, tomato. Look at this tomato. We're already up halfway the trellis or the cage. My pepper plant finally started to grow. My tomatoes. Tomatoes have got blooms, so they're going to try to put out some tomatoes. And look at there, I got a tomato plant there, a pepper plant in marigold. And my blue has started putting out more green leaves since I put compost tea to it, and I put a little bit of Epsom salts to it last week. I put more to it yesterday. You can see it on the ground or inside the pot. Tomato plants there, look how they're growing. And that tomato, the brandywines are all the way up to the top of the cages already. To the top and above. And I think these are the golden jubilees here. Going up this one. It's over halfway up. Oh, and my pepper plant there. Tomatoes. I got 2 tomato plants, and I got a pepper in the little pot and a pepper behind it. I need to break some of the yellow leaves off the bottom, but I'm not up to it right now. If I can finish this garden tour, I'll be doing good. Look there, I got another volunteer coming up, right along with the ones I put there, and my pepper plants back in here. So I'm going to have enough pepper plants. My okra, my carrots. And I've been thinking about pulling one up to see if it's started to root yet. I don't know how long it takes. But I don't want to start pulling stuff up if it's too soon. Oh my gosh, look. Look at this. My first Roma tomatoes. Oh, my back. That is a Roma tomato plant. And it has 2 little green Roma tomatoes. Look at there. So I'm going to have some Roma tomatoes. I don't know how many. But you can see it's already putting out some Roma tomatoes. I can't wait. That'll make a good salad, and it'll make a fantastic BLT. My lettuces, I wanted to harvest more lettuce because it's starting to burn up. It's getting too hot. And I got a little tomato plant back there. And I got a couple growing here. Or it might be eggplant. I'm not sure. But I got pepper plants come up in here. Right along with the bok choy. Pepper plant there. The bok choy kind of has died down. I just can't, I got to get out here and water stuff, and I can't do it right now. It hurts to pull the garden hose. It hurts to pick up the buckets, and I'm going to sit on this log just a minute right here. There's my bucket of beets we put over here with my cabbages and my 2 tree collards back there. They've got leaves that need to come off. They'll be great in compost or in the compost tea. Or even break them off and stick them down in the dirt under the plant there, under the tree collard. Whew. I'm dropping these legs back down. I know it won't hold my weight, but at least it'll hold the tripod up a little high. Oh man, I just got to sit here a minute. Look at that tomato plant there. It's halfway up that trellis. That one in the middle of the in the screen. That's one tomato plant. And my raspberry bush beside it, that black pot. I'm hoping it has raspberries this year. It had a bunch of flowers on it last year, but I didn't get any raspberries off of it. And my tub of beets there. And I got a tub of beets there between the blue pot and that little round one. Let's see if I can get up and finish this garden update. Oh man. And I went ahead and put a cage to this tomato plant because it looks like it's going to be a pretty tall one. Maybe even get taller than that cage, I don't know. But this is either a brandywine or a, it might be a delicious tomato, I don't know. Like I said, I plant stuff, I mark it, and then I end up moving plants and replanting and one thing another, and then I don't remember what I planted there because I didn't mark it. That little one here in the little pot is a golden Jubilee tomato. That's like a little cherry tomato. The one behind it is a brandywine. That is a Roma tomato there. The one behind it is a cherry tomato, which grows pretty tall. That is a cherry tomato. All of these back here in these cages are the big, tall cherry tomatoes that just keep right on growing and growing. So they'll grow up, bend over the top of those trellises, and start growing on sideways. Tomato plants in that tote. And look at all my plants in my cinder blocks. I think every single block has at least one plant or 5 or 6 plants in it of some kind that has come up. And tomato plant in that pot. But you can see the cinder blocks, all the cinder blocks have plants. It's either peppers, marigolds, okra. My greens. I've been thinking about putting a pepper plant, or maybe a pepper plant and a tomato plant in this end of this tote to make good use of that space. And there goes that tomato starting to grow up. See, I had some so tall in there. Look how tall that stake goes, all the way up there. So tall, I'd have to get a ladder to pick the tomatoes off of it. It gets up that tall. And see, that one there is a tall tomato. So I'm going to have to probably move that can that it's planted in and put it closer to the arbor so it can go up the arbor. Let's see. That is if it hasn't yet. Start to say that is if the roots have not come out of it yet, which it hasn't. So I'm going to put that over there, and if it gets, as it grows, I can lift it up. As it grows, I can brace it on the arbor going up like the other tomatoes. and just leave it in the can. If the roots want to go out the bottom, they can go out the bottom. And I pulled out a bunch of the plants that come in there, because you know there was like 12 little plants all in that one pot. And I put the biggest one back in there. And it's kind of wilted down, but it's perking back up. And look at this. You know what that is? That's a tomato plant. But it's here at the arbor. So if it grows up, I can put it to the arbor. Those tomato plants are growing. And see, I've been pulling peppers out of here, replanting them, and I still got tons of pepper plants. And that's the red bell pepper from that red bell pepper I cut. And I put the seeds from that red pepper down in that little pot. And that's a tomatillo. This right here. And there goes my tomato plants there that are going to be growing up the arbor. My basil plant right there is looking good. My zinnias growing up at the base of the clematis. Zinnias over there. Look, I got a tomato plant right there in the cinder block. I got one right here in the cinder block. And I'm going to leave it. There's one right here. There's one right here. And I'm just going to leave it, and they can grow right on up the trellis. Right along with these other ones. But I got that one there. That's going to be a pretty tall tomato right there. It'll probably outgrow the cage. And that one in that pink pot as well. It's going to get so tall it'll outgrow the cage up there. Oh, I forgot to get my squash. I don't want to have to walk back out here. But there's my Brussels sprouts. You know, we kept those alive all winter. They're just now coming back from the last harvest of them. Oh, I'm back here to get my squash, and I don't know that I can carry them. Maybe I can do the old trick of putting them in my shirt. Y'all ever done that? Make a pouch with your shirt. Put your squash or your whatever you're harvesting in it. Like that. Look at my pepper plants there. And I don't know, the tomatoes there are just taking their time. They don't want to grow. That was brandywine tomatoes that were in there. They're still there. But I think the sunflower's taking it over. Melons, cucumbers, tomato there. Same here. I got a gladiola fixing to open. Right there. That was some of the first things I planted in that big pot. I put flower seed and flower bulbs, and the marigolds keep coming up every year. Sunflowers. Oh. And look, my cilantro is just all going to seed. It's getting too hot for it. My melons are growing up the string. My cucumbers. And that one over there is going crazy. It left its cage and it's gone over to the next one. I'm going to have to double it back over and make it come back. Looks like it's trying to go to the arbors. And there's yellow squash. Tomatoes in that little pot. squash plant there. It's trying to overtower that little tomato plant. That's a little dwarf tomato plant in the little yellow pot that's in the top of the big one. My cucumbers, tomatoes back there, another squash plant, cucumbers there, or melons, I'm not sure which. And this is liable to latch onto that tree and go up. The way it's headed, it might just do that. And look at this. I had to finally stake these things up to these buckets. I mean, I don't want to stake the pumpkin up. That, if it puts out pumpkins, they'll get too heavy. So I'm going to leave them on the ground. But I got a tomato plant on that end. Tomato plant on this end with the cucumber vine going up. Cucumbers in the middle. Going on up the teepee. It gets to the top, I'm going to have to get a ladder to go up there and pick them. But we'll see. My tomato plants with my marigolds and my squash and zucchini or yellow squash, I don't know which. But they're all growing. My clematis that I rooted in this one, you know, we're just breaking the piece off and sticking it down. My aloe vera looks good. My clematis over there. Oh. My insolent plant. See how pretty it's getting? It makes a pretty plant if you get it in the right spot. It does like a little bit of shade. Oh. Well, let's see. And look, I got my mother of millions growing like crazy, and I got the little baby plants over here. I probably should have separated the baby plants, but I wasn't sure if they'd survive if I did that. But anyway, that is my garden tour update for this time. And you can see how dark it looks. Looks like it wants to rain some more. We need it. We need more rain. So it can rain if it wants to. My garden will love it. So I hope your garden is doing as well as mine's doing. The more rain we get right now, the better I like it, because then I don't have to get out here and water stuff. And it'll wash that Epsom salts in, and that'll do a world of good for my plants. And I forgot to show you the compost bin out there. See how it's dropped? All that stuff is breaking down that's in it. And I'm not going to turn it. Just leave it like it is. I'm not able to turn it anymore. That's the reason I bought that bin that you can turn. You know, just roll it. But it's empty because I used all my compost I had in it in my plants and my totes and pots. So I got to start over with that. But I may have to put a brace on the back side of the bucket garden right there. I mean, it's pretty level, so I probably really don't have anything to worry about. But I'm worried about the wind blowing. When all those vines get up there, it'll make it top heavy, and if the wind blows it over, I'll have a mess. So I might tie a cord to one of maybe the top bucket and brace it to the ground just to secure it against the wind. We'll see. I'm not doing it today, though. So with that, I want to wish everybody a good day. Thanks so much for watching my video, hanging out with me. I really appreciate it. I love each and every one of you. Let me hear in the comments what you think. I'm going to end my video and get back in the house and put my feet up and cool off. I'm sweating like crazy. But please like, share, and subscribe to my videos. Y'all have a blessed day. And I'll see y'all on my next one. Bye now.